911, what is your emergency? The voice on the other end is trembling with fear. A woman, panicked. I think my sister is dead. Please, you have to help me. There's a pause, then the sound of footsteps, frantic breathing. A man's voice interrupts, his tone urgent. I don't know what happened. We were just arguing. I didn't mean to. The call cuts off abruptly. The phone goes silent, but the horror had already begun. What seemed like a simple domestic argument had spiraled into a tragedy no one in Fort Worth, Texas, could have foreseen. In the tight-knit community of Fort Worth, Texas, where the rustling of wind through pines was the loudest sound, no one suspected that darkness was hiding behind the Moore household. Catherine Moore, at first glance, was the epitome of normalcy. A loving mother to 2 children, a devoted wife to James, her husband of 10 years, she was the woman everyone admired. To their neighbors, they were the couple that seemed to have it all. But behind the closed doors of their home, Catherine's life was anything but perfect. Her marriage to James was plagued with tension from the start. Though Catherine tried to keep the family intact, James's explosive temper, controlling nature, and erratic behavior made their home anything but a safe haven. Neighbors often heard shouting, things breaking, and cries of distress, but no one knew the full extent of what Catherine endured. Despite the constant conflict, Catherine stayed, holding on to the hope that James would change. Over the years, she became increasingly isolated, her once vibrant personality fading. But no one could have predicted that the love she had for her children and her desire for a better life would lead to her tragic end. That night began like any other. Catherine returned home from work, kissed her children goodnight, and sat down to dinner with James. But everything quickly escalated. James had been drinking. The argument started over something trivial, but the tension soon grew unbearable. Catherine tried to remain calm, but James's temper flared. The words exchanged became venomous. Catherine, I'm done, James. I'm leaving you. I can't live like this anymore. James, you'll never leave me. You'll never take the kids from me. I won't let you. As Catherine packed a small bag, preparing to leave, James snapped. His refusal to accept her departure led to violence. What started as a verbal exchange quickly turned physical. James, you think you can just walk away from me? You'll never leave. He lunged at her, pushing her into the wall. In a fit of rage, he grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter. The blade gleamed in the dim light. The struggle was brief. Catherine fought for her life, but her cries were stifled by James's grip. Blood splattered across the walls. And then, in an instant, it was over. Catherine Moore was dead. James stood over her lifeless body, his anger replaced by a cold, calculating fear. He knew what he had done. Hours later, Catherine's sister, Hannah, arrived at the house after receiving a frantic phone call from Catherine earlier. She found the front door ajar. Entering the house, she was met with a nightmare. She immediately called 911. I think my sister is dead. You need to get here. Her voice trembled as she rushed to Catherine's side. It was too late. Catherine's bloodied body lay still on the living room floor, her face frozen in fear. The police arrived quickly, securing the scene and collecting evidence. James was nowhere to be found, but his car was parked outside. The search began. Detectives quickly learned that James had fled, but his phone remained active, leading the police on a manhunt to track him down. Hours later, he was found at a local motel, drunk, disheveled, and wearing blood-stained clothes. He barely reacted as the police approached him. His face was expressionless. James was taken into custody. His story was inconsistent, his words tangled with confusion. At first, he denied any involvement in his wife's death. James, I didn't do it. I loved her. We were just arguing, but I didn't hurt her. I didn't kill her. However, the evidence told a different story. A bloody knife was found at the scene with James's fingerprints on it. Blood was splattered on his shirt and shoes, and a trail of blood led from the kitchen to the living room. The biggest shock came when detectives uncovered Catherine's secret. She had been planning to leave James. She had been saving money, making arrangements to move into her own apartment, and was preparing to start over. James's reaction wasn't just one of rage. It was the act of a man who feared losing control over Catherine and their family. Her freedom was a threat he couldn't bear. The investigation moved quickly. James was charged with first-degree murder. His trial began months after the crime. The courtroom was filled with emotional testimonies, especially from those who knew Catherine best. Hannah, Catherine's sister, took the stand, tearfully describing how Catherine had planned to leave James and had confided in her for help. Hannah, Catherine was scared. She was terrified of what he might do. She couldn't take it anymore. She wanted to leave, but she wanted to keep the kids safe. The defense tried to argue that James acted in self-defense, claiming the killing was a result of a loss of control. But the evidence didn't support that. The fatal wound, a single stab to Catherine's chest, was delivered with purpose, not in a fit of panic. The jury deliberated for only a few hours before finding James guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The murder of Catherine Moore is not just a tragic story, It's a stark reminder of the silent terror that can unfold behind closed doors. While Catherine's friends and family saw the signs, her isolation, her fear, and the secret plans for escape, they weren't enough to stop the violence that claimed her life. James Moore's actions left a permanent scar on those who knew Catherine. A woman who had tried to protect her family, a mother who only wanted a better life for her children, was taken away by the man who was supposed to love her. Her story is a call to action. It's a reminder that domestic violence isn't always visible in physical bruises. Sometimes, it's the quiet accumulation of control, fear, and manipulation. We must never allow anyone to feel trapped in an abusive relationship. And as for James Moore, his life sentence serves as a reminder that justice can prevail, even for the darkest crimes. In the end, the truth always comes to light. And sometimes, it takes the light of justice to show us the way.